Today, DLNR announces the arrest yesterday of a well-known Hawaii Aquarium fish collector, Steve Howard of Kailua Kona, after a bizarre series of events that included a search and rescue operation. Mr. Howard's alleged illegal activity is outrageous. Aquarium collection in West Hawaii is not permitted at this time. Everyone knows the rules, and the industry is under a microscope, legally, procedurally, and physically. Why anyone would blatantly flaunt the law to continue to fish illegally for aquarium fish in Kona is beyond me. It's absolutely wrong. I am so proud of our DOCARE officers and appreciative of our Division of Aquatic Resources teams and other teams and individuals that together nailed this one. Now I'll turn it over to Chief Jason Radula of DLNR's Conservation and Resources Enforcement Division to provide you with some details.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Yesterday's incident began with information that officers received that Mr. Howard had departed the Honokohau small boat harbor and had gone out to sea. Officers were able to conduct surveillance of Mr. Howard's activities and found that he had gone to the Kailua Kona pier to pick up 2 women. He then departed out to sea again. At that point, our officers were able to launch our own patrol boat and had intercepted Mr. Howard's vessel offshore of Pebble Beach in South Kona. At that time, Mr. Howard's vessel was boarded, and officers were able to determine that he had aquarium fish collecting gear aboard. And through a safety boarding, it was determined that he had unserviceable safety equipment on board. At that time, his voyage was terminated, and Mr. Howard was escorted back to Honokohau Small Boat Harbor. In the process, he was asked about the whereabouts of the 2 women that were aboard. He became uncooperative with officers at that point. As the investigation continued at Honokohau Boat Harbor, Mr. Howard was placed under arrest for several aquatic and boating violations. At that point, he had admitted to officers that he had left the 2 women behind in waters offshore of Pebble Beach. And it was at that time that a search and rescue operation was initiated to determine the location and well-being of the 2 women. Units of the Hawaii County Police Department and Fire Department, as well as the NOAA Office of Law Enforcement, responded to conduct a search of the area. Thankfully, several hours later, the women turned up ashore at a gas station in Kona. It was confirmed later that the 2 women at the gas station were in fact the 2 ladies that were aboard Howard's boat. They were interviewed by officers, and their role in this incident continues to be under investigation. Mr. Howard, again, was arrested for the aquatic and boating violations, and he was also charged with reckless endangering for his disregard for the safety of the 2 women that were aboard his vessel. All of the violations that Mr. Howard is being charged with at this point are petty misdemeanors. They carry both jail and monetary fines if convicted. And our investigation in this incident continues to remain ongoing. There is the possibility that other charges may be levied at some time in the future. We'd like to thank the assistance of our Division of Aquatic and Resources, our Division of Aquatic Resources staff for assisting our officers with the gathering of evidence, as well as the identification and accounting of the fish that were recovered in this incident. Additionally, we'd like to thank our partners for their assistance with the search and rescue operation as well.
Good afternoon. We'd also like to thank and acknowledge the officers that worked into the night last night and their persistence and dedication in making the arrest, but also making sure that the illegally harvested reef fish were returned back to the wild. Our Division of Aquatic Resources staff also assisted with the operation. Divers discovered submerged fish bins at the site containing 239 illegally harvested reef fish. They also found illegal fishing gear associated with the site. Those reef fish made up 10 different species, and we estimate the retail market value of the catch at above $17,000. Illegal collection of aquarium fish in West Hawaii is turning into a persistent problem. This is the third arrest that we've seen associated with illegal aquarium harvest in West Hawaii just this year, which indicates this is a larger problem that the department's going to need to deal with. These type of incidents are bad for the reef, they're bad for Hawaii, and they're bad for the industry. And we certainly don't want to see any more of these poaching incidents happening in West Hawaii. And we're looking at measures that we can take to try to address the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chair Case. Thank you, Chief Radula. Let's go to our first questioner, Tom Linder from West Hawaii Today. Tom?
Hi, thank you. I apologize. I'm curious with the, as Mr. Nielsen said, with the third arrest this year, what efforts are going into preventing these crimes from happening?
Well, obviously what we are trying to do is make sure everyone is really clear on the rules and really clear that it's not permitted, and making sure everybody is watching out for this kind of illegal activity, because we have our eyes and ears out and we want it to stop.
Pat Cummins from Environment Hawaii. Pat?
Hi. You know, it seems to me that if you've caught 3 people who are illegally harvesting aquarium fish just this year, it suggests that there are many more who are going uncaught. Have you any way of tracking the sale of aquarium fish from Hawaii to vendors on the mainland or elsewhere?
Yeah, so we do track commercial sales and commercial catch of legally caught fish, but the problem when they're illegally caught, it's, you know, those numbers aren't reported, the sales aren't reported, so it just turns into a black box of unreported catch, and that's what makes it really challenging for us. And then also trying to track catch after it leaves the state can also be a challenge for us as well. So you know, that's part of the big issue that we're looking at.
Thank you. Let's go to David Corrigan, Big Island Video News. Dave? Dave, you're muted if you're asking a question. Okay, we'll come back to Dave. Casey Harlow from Hawaii Public Radio. Casey.
Yes, hi. I guess, what is the punishment, or what are the penalties for collecting fish from the West Hawaii area within this preserve?
Yep, so as far as the possession of aquarium fish that's taken within the West Hawaii Regional Fisheries Management Area, it is a criminal penalty of a petty misdemeanor. Typically, that carries up to a jail time of 30 days, a fine of up to $1,000 or both, as well as administrative fees and civil enforcement that the Board of Land and Natural Resources can take against a violator.